Welcome back to Epic Nightmares. In our previous video, we explored real horrors of the Middle Ages. Click the card in the top right if you missed it. Tonight, we return to that same dark world to uncover 10 documented torture methods that reveal the darkest limits of human cruelty and authority. Let's begin. It began with something deceptively simple. The thumbscrew was a small vise, often made of iron, with 2 flat bars tightened by a screw to crush the fingers or toes. Interrogators would slowly turn the screw while questioning the prisoner, grinding bone and nail until nerves split apart. The device was portable and cheap, which made it a favorite of town courts and inquisitors. Few died from it, but the pain was excruciating and the message unmistakable. Silence would only bring more turns of the screw. Between the 15th and 16th centuries, inquisitors across Europe turned to a device as cruel as it was deceptively simple: the heretic's fork. This iron instrument consisted of a short metal rod with 2 sharp prongs at each end, fastened between the victim's chin and chest, or, in some variations, between the chin and the breastbone and the upper throat. Once strapped in place with a leather collar, the fork allowed no movement of the head. If the victim nodded, prayed, or even drifted toward sleep, the prongs pierced deeper into flesh. Hours of enforced stillness brought unbearable pain, swelling, and bleeding. Next came a method that turned a simple element, water, into a weapon of agony. Known as the water cure, this torture forced victims to swallow enormous amounts of water in a very short time. Prisoners were strapped to a bench or chair while their mouths were pried open with iron wedges. Their noses were clamped shut, and a funnel or strip of cloth was pushed deep into the throat. Bucket after bucket of water was poured until the stomach swelled painfully close to bursting. Some captives vomited as their bodies tried to reject the flood, only for the process to begin again. The distension of the stomach caused excruciating cramps, ruptures, and sometimes death. Unlike waterboarding, which simulates drowning, the water cure overwhelmed the body from the inside. A slow, deliberate assault that left its victims broken, gasping, and often permanently injured. For those accused of heresy or treason, interrogation sometimes took place on an iron chair fitted with hundreds of sharp spikes. The prisoner was strapped down so tightly that even the smallest movement tore flesh. Some chairs were heated from below with burning coals, turning the metal seat into a slow furnace. Witnesses reported the smell of scorched skin, lingering long after the screams had stopped. Pain could also be focused on the legs. The Spanish boot, known in different regions as the Scottish boot, or simply the boot, encased the victim's lower legs in iron or wood. Wooden wedges were then hammered between the casing and the bone, splintering the tibia and fibula with each strike. Few bones survived intact, and the injuries often left victims crippled for life. To attack the mind as well as the body, executioners sometimes used a device that slowly crushed the skull with the skull crusher. The chin rested on a lower bar while a metal cap pressed down from above. As the screw tightened, teeth shattered, eyes bulged, and finally the bones of the face collapsed inward. It was a silent instrument. No flames, no spectacle. But the sound of cracking bone told interrogators when the truth was near. More secretive and more shocking was the so-called pair of anguish. This hinged metal device was inserted into the mouth, rectum, or vagina, then expanded by turning a screw. The pair tore delicate tissue from within, leaving wounds that were slow to heal. Its purpose was humiliation as much as pain, a cruel statement that no part of the body was beyond the reach of authority. Women accused of adultery or witchcraft faced punishments designed specifically for them. The breast ripper, sometimes called the iron spider, was a set of claw-like hooks heated in fire and then clamped onto the victim's chest. With a single wrenching motion, flesh was ripped away. Contemporary records describe public executions where the smell of burning iron mixed with the cries of the crowd. Perhaps the most infamous device of the age was the rack. Prisoners were chained by the wrists and ankles to a wooden frame, then stretched by turning rollers at each end. The body lengthened, joints dislocated, and muscles tore apart. The agony was so intense that many confessed to crimes they had never committed just to make the pulling stop. Even if released, victims were often left permanently maimed. Death on the breaking wheel was both torture and execution. The condemned was tied to a large wooden wheel, while executioners smashed each limb with iron bars. Bones broke outward against the spokes until the body was a ruin of twisted limbs. Sometimes the wheel was then hoisted on a pole, leaving the victim to die slowly in public view, a warning to anyone who might challenge the law. Tonight's journey through medieval torture shows a side of humanity we'd rather forget. It's hard to imagine the agony the victims endured, and even harder to grasp how easily others carried out such cruelty. We can be grateful to live in a time where these horrors belong to history, not daily life. May their suffering remind us how precious compassion and justice truly are. This was Epic Nightmares. Until next time, stay safe and never take mercy for granted.